Welcome again. This is, I think, the fifth podcast. My name is Dr. Howard Pallay. This is about functional nutritional rebalancing of your health, or as I like to call it, optimizing your health, optimizing your happiness in your life. Okay? Today's topic is a very, very important and poorly understood one by a lot of doctors and just about all lay people. I'm going to try and demystify the whole thing about sugar, okay? What is going on with this whole sugar thing? Well, first of all, sugar is an essential nutrient to the body, but not necessarily that it has to be taken in by eating sweets, but everything your body digests, a large portion of it, is going to be broken down into chains of sugar or glucose molecules. This is what the power of life is for all living things, but especially mammals and human beings. Glucose, when it's broken down and absorbed through the salivary areas of the mouth, some of it, but most of it through the stomach and the small intestines, it's absorbed into the walls of the intestinal mucosal lining, goes into the bloodstream, and of course, what does it do? It begins to elevate your glucose blood sugar level, okay? What happens next is just fascinating on how God or nature or Gaia put this all together, in that your body then has a feedback mechanism, and it tells the head of the pancreas, okay, over here on the left side, where the islets of Langerhorn make insulin on feedback mechanism and demand from the body. Your body releases the insulin, which is a highly volatile substance. It's then taken up by all cells in the body, okay, and it has a magical property. It allows the cell to uptake glucose into the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. Some evolutionary scientists believe that the mitochondria were actually a separate organism, and then they became symbiotic with mammals, and then the mammals evolved and changed, and the mitochondria became part of the cell structure. Who knows? There's a lot of science involved there and research, and a lot of it historical and speculative at best, but still fascinating. The mitochondria of the cell are the powerhouse of the cell. What happens in there is absolutely fascinating, okay? What happens there is something called the Krebs citric acid cycle. This was a Dr. Krebs who did the original research. I don't know why he called it the citric acid cycle, but it has nothing directly to do with citrus fruits other than they are a sugar source. Maybe that was why. I really don't know why he named it that. But the point is you have this thing called this Krebs citric acid cycle. Okay, there's a molecule called ATP. After the insulin allows the cell to uptake the glucose, it then is bonded in the mitochondria with ATP, and then the bond is broken, made and broken 8 times. This is what gives mammals energy and power, okay? If you have too much energy, your body stores the excess energy as glycogen in the muscles or in the fat cells, and that makes you fat, but then the body can use it later on for aerobic or anaerobic respiration. Nothing to do with breathing, but having to do with whether oxygen is present to allow your body and muscles to easily utilize the glucose stored as glycogen, or not easily, which forms cramps in the muscles and knots from anaerobic respiration of muscles, and that causes cramps when people run and don't have good blood flow, okay, and they get all cramped up and they get knots. Those are knots are because there is not enough oxygen flowing freely to that heavily used muscle, usually because the person didn't train well, didn't hydrate well, or didn't have enough minerals and trace minerals in their diet, especially immediately prior to running. But getting back to sugar, so sugar goes in and gives your cells and your body energy, and then some of it's stored as fat, especially when your metabolism goes down later in the day. That's a topic for a later podcast about hormones and the thyroid in particular, okay? And then the second part of that will be hormones and the endocrine system regarding women and men, but especially women who are obviously have more hormonal involvements in how their body functions. Getting back to our friends, sugar, okay? So sugar eaten early in the day makes energy. Sugar late in the day makes fat. But now all of a sudden we're understanding, well, wait a second. So sugar's not a bad thing. Well, it is not a bad thing unless you overload the body with too much and the wrong kinds of sugar. And that's what we're going to talk about right now, because this is the conundrum that people need to learn and understand. One of the very, very curious things about the whole thing of people with sugar problems is that, yeah, you need it, and you need it, and need it, and one day your body's not functioning well, you become diabetic, and you can't take sugar anymore. Your body will have to produce its own slower and more gradually, because if you overwhelm the body with sugar, it can kill you if you're a diabetic, literally. So, how do we sort all this out? First, I'm going to tell you a very interesting fact. In the case of diabetes and pre-diabetes and low blood sugar or hypoglycemia, diabetes is hyperglycemia or high blood sugar, high resting blood sugar. One of the strange things about it is if you have low blood sugar because of a poor diet or genetics or both for many, many years, your body struggles to make enough insulin for your body to take up the sugar, and then there's not enough sugar in your body and you have low blood sugar. Years and years of that, eventually the pancreas tries to make more and more insulin because you're giving it this crappy diet, and then one day it gives up and says, hey, I can't make this no more, and it begins to make very little or none. It's one of the few conditions in the body where you can go from low blood sugar or hypoglycemia, and then one day later on end up with hyper or high blood sugar or diabetes. Fascinating little tidbit, doesn't have a lot of use other than to understand if you take care of your low blood sugar and eat a better diet and a healthier diet, you will either delay or stop the onset of diabetes. Now, there are a number of different kinds of diabetes. We're mostly talking about the classic one, or that you get as you get older or you get younger because of a really crappy diet. And that's what we're trying to teach here. So, sugar is necessary in the body. But that's not the same thing as eating raw amounts of sugar. And let's explain how that all works. So if you eat a healthy diet, okay, what you digest in the mouth in the beginning of your meal with your salivary amylases and the quick absorption of some of the glucose or sugar that's released goes into your body fairly quickly, and it wakes up your endocrine system, in a particular case your pancreas, and tells it, hey, we got food coming down the pipeline, okay? So wake up and make us some insulin because we need some workers down there to get it into the body to give us energy. Okay, we talked about that a little earlier with insulin in the mitochondria of the powerhouse, okay? So the strange thing is that when you eat a healthy, normal diet, okay, it's supposed to take an hour and a half to 2 hours to digest. So in that first 15, 20 minutes or so, when your body senses a meal coming on and the uptake of food, it makes the assumption, wrong sometimes, that you ate a healthy diet with complex carbs and soups and water and fats and minerals and vitamins and coenzymes and protein, of course, and complex carbs that take a while to digest, so they're going to release their sugar or glucose slower. Most everything in your diet can be broken down into glucose at some point, but obviously some things break down easier, and that's one of the things that we're getting at here. So your body senses the onset of this meal, okay? It tells the head and pancreas, the islets of Langerhorn, to release the hounds, release insulin into the bloodstream, which is highly volatile, I will tell you again, and that'll come to play in a minute as we discuss the functions of low blood sugar glycemia, okay? The body releases a lot of insulin. It figures you ate a healthy meal. You're feeding the beast. You're putting gasoline into the car. Your body needs this to survive and have energy and to function and to go find more food and forage or hunt or whatever it is that you do to gain food, or go to the supermarket and buy stuff that's prepackaged. But at any rate, the point is you should go buy food. Healthy or not healthy, you still have to feed the beast, okay? So what happens is when this is just a make-believe number, your body senses a small X amount of sugar released in that first half hour. It assumes that you ate a healthy meal. Over the course of these 2 hours, there will be, and remember, this is just made up numbers. I don't know the actual science for it, but 2.5 times X of insulin. Meaning, there's more sugar coming, right? Of course, when you ate a meal, it's going to take time for it to digest, you break down, you chew it up, mix it with acids, mix it with enzymes, and the body begins to digest. Then it absorbs and gets into the bloodstream, and voila, the insulin is there waiting. It helps the cells to take it up, goes into the mitochondria, everybody's happy. Now, what can go wrong with this? Well, this is the problem, okay? Let's say when you ate your meal, you ate a chocolate bar, a package of Twinkies, some chocolate chip cookies, drank a Coca-Cola, and 2 glasses of orange juice. Well, I got news for you. That stuff doesn't take an hour and a half, 2 hours to digest, does it? Doesn't have much fiber, and all the sugar in there can be released very, very easily. For example, getting to the fruit family, and on a empty stomach, fruit is not really a good idea, okay? You know who lives off of a high fruit diet, fruitarian diet? Monkeys. They're overactive, they shit their brains out, and they die young. That's what monkeys do, okay? It's not a smart diet for a higher evolved creature like human beings. You take good care of your house and your car and your pets and hopefully your kids, okay? You got to take better care of this. You can't go trade it in for a newer model Mercedes, okay? This is the only one you got. You have to take care of it, people, okay? So we're trying to teach you how to get healthier, how to take care of yourself, how to have more energy and be happy and have a better quality of life. So much of this begins with your diet and your sugar intake. So now you ate a crappy diet. All that sugar from the candy bar and the Twinkies and the Ho-Hos and the Ring Dings, I can list all of them, they get released too quickly, okay? And it's too much. So now this matter of that small X we talked about before being released in the first half hour, now this monsoon tidal wave of large X of sugar gets released in the first half hour. 2 big problems. Your body has eaten too much sugar. You don't need all that energy, but you need the insulin to take up that glucose, so your pancreas is going to release a huge amount of insulin, even more than this giant X. Remember the 2.5? Your body can't sit there and say, hey, don't put out too much insulin today. It's not a good idea. I ate a crappy meal. That's not how your body works. Your body works in a semi-automatic feedback mechanism, and you don't have control of it with your brain. You have control of what you put in your mouth, okay? You have control of where you go, what you do, and how you live your life. But how your body functions is a very, very hard thing to control. So your body's going to put out a lot of insulin. Now you have too much sugar. That's going to add fat and make you tired from all this digestion, all the blood going to the digestive tract and to the stomach and the intestines. But now there's even more insulin than your body even needed, because it's not getting more sugar released later on as you digest the complex carbs and the proteins and the healthy vegetable fats and fish fats and oils, all the good stuff that your body really wants to give you long-term energy and stable nutrition and put you in a homeostatic balance, okay? This extra insulin is highly volatile, remember that word? It's going to use up your resting blood sugar. Now you're resting the little sugar that's got to stay in your body, so that you might need it for this or this as your body is slowing down, going to the evening and going into rest. You still need a little bit of sugar, glucose in your bloodstream, not a lot. Now the insulin has made the blood sugar go even lower. All kinds of alarm bells go off. You have low blood sugar. Your body starts getting tired, you're yawning, you're shaking. There's all kinds of symptoms of low blood sugar, which we'll talk about when we get into treating particular patients with it, okay? But needless to say, you don't feel good, and your body says, feed me now, feed me, Seymour, and it makes low blood sugar patients run around looking for more food. What are they going to give it? They're not smart people, are they now? They may be highly educated. but they're not smart. They ate crappy food. They're going to probably go and get the crappy food again to give them another energy spike of temporary energy. This is not a good thing. Over time, your body will demand more and more food and sugar. Your body will make more and more insulin. You'll get your pancreas, of the head of the pancreas will get larger and larger. And then you'll get a vicious cycle of more crap food, more insulin, more fat, more crap food, more insulin. And then one day, like I said, your pancreas goes, screw you. I can't make that much insulin. I'm making little or none. And now you're pre-diabetic or diabetic. Okay? So this is the whole point. This is why you're supposed to eat a healthy meal. You need fiber. You need complex carbs. You need fish and fish oils. You need good protein, not too much of it. And you do need carbs and lots of green leafy vegetables and soups and water. This is what you have to eat a healthy meal. And that's how you stabilize your blood sugar. You stabilize your blood sugar by not going more than 2 or 3 hours without eating something when you're in an acute hypoglycemic phase. You have no processed sugars and processed wheat, okay? You want things that take a time to digest. To give you an example, you have no fruit juice at all. It's not that much better unless you freshly squeezed it. It's not that much better than soda water. Soda. It's really not. Neither one is great, okay? You're not getting the fiber from the fruit because you just juiced it, okay? Fresh fruit, let's talk about that. They all have sugar in it, but think about it this way. You can take an orange or a grapefruit and squeeze it, or grapes and squeeze it, and the juice, sugar water, comes right out. Try that with an apple. Not so much with a pear. Even a banana, which gets mushy, but it'll take a time to digest. So the healthy fruits when you're not doing well are apples, pears, bananas. A little bit of papaya because there's a lot of enzymes, okay? Everything else, not in the early stage until you start getting better. And even later on, not too much and not on an empty stomach. Always on a full stomach. So like a dessert, that's where the dessert concept comes from. So it mixes with the other healthy food that you ate already. I believe rice is very good. And I don't care if it's white rice or brown rice because it's very glutinous, so it takes time for your body to digest it. You guys are seeing the picture? If your body takes a while to digest it, it'll take a while to absorb it, it'll give you gradual release of energy, and your body can deal with it better, okay? And that's the whole point. There are things that we also do. We use certain kinds of chromium picolinate to help stabilize the blood sugar, and we change your diet. And we explain to people why they have to do these things and what a healthy diet is. We touched on a healthy diet earlier. We'll go into it more. There's only one healthy diet for all people. You have to be extra vigilant if you have, say, a sugar problem. If it runs in your family having diabetes. If a lot of your family have low blood sugar problems. If your sugar bounces around a lot and your energy bounces around a lot. We're going to get into the overarching concept of energy things. But first, you need to understand why you need to eat a healthy diet, why raw sugar is bad, yet glucose is necessary to live, okay? Just like you need a little bit of salt in your diet, or you're going to have serious health problems, cramping, and you could die from lack of salt, yet we know that a small percentage of high blood pressure patients are highly salt reactive, so we don't want too much salt. We want a healthy salt, preferably Himalayan. We want it when you're cooking, not so much after the meal, and not too much, but salt is a necessary ingredient. Animals find salt licks to survive. They must have salt. We're mammals. We also must have salt. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon with the next podcast.